Hey guys, it is April from Getting Huggo With It. Today I have a historical fiction book haul for you. I mean, who would have guessed that I'd have another one of these for you? I am completely addicted and I don't mind. So let's get into it. First book that I picked up is The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. Now, first of all, this won the Pulitzer Prize. I don't know what it is about the Pulitzer Prize out of all prizes. I really seem to just want to read all of the Pulitzer Prize winners for some reason. Also, Russell at Ink and Paper blog raved about this book, and after he raved about it, I rushed out to my local Value Village, and there it was, and I was so excited. Now this is a bit complex, so I'm going to read the blurb on the back. I hope you don't mind. Joe Kavalier, a young Jewish artist who has also been trained in the art of Houdini-esque escape, has just smuggled himself out of Nazi-invaded Prague and landed in New York City. His Brooklyn cousin, Sammy Clay, is looking for a partner to create heroes, stories, and art for the latest novelty to hit America, the comic book. Drawing on their own fears and dreams, Kavalier and Clay create The Escapist, The Monitor, and Luna Moth, inspired by the beautiful Rosa Sachs, who will become linked by powerful ties to both men. What an inventive storyline! I love it when people come up with the most random storylines and then they end up being Pulitzer Prize winning stories. I am so happy to have this on my shelves. There's something about this book that I just know I'm gonna love, so yes, Kavalier and Clay. The next book I picked up was Dreams of Joy by Lisa C. Now this is the sequel to Shanghai Girls. I'm not even gonna read the blurb on the back because I don't want it to ruin anything for me when I go to read Shanghai Girls. But Shanghai Girls is about two sisters who live in China during the Second World War, and I believe they move to America at some point during that time. They find husbands, and this is the continuation of their stories. At least one of them, I'm assuming one of them lives. I'm hoping that both of them do so that I can read more about these sisters. So I grabbed that. I also picked up Orphan Train by Christina Baker Klein. Now, Orphan Train has this little special spot in my heart because I went through a huge reading slump when it comes to fiction, and I'm talking about years. Like, I don't think I read fiction or much fiction for at least 5 years, and Orphan Train is the book that got me reading fiction again. So I'm so happy that I have this on my shelves. It's an important book for me personally. This follows a teen named Molly who's grown up in and out of foster homes, and she does some community service at this older woman's home. This older woman starts opening up about her life, and she happens to be an orphan herself who actually went on the orphan train, which was a true thing that did happen. Orphans were thrown on this train essentially, and they went from town to town or city to city. They all got off, and people would just pick and choose which orphan they wanted in their home. This happened between 1854 and 1929, and so this elderly woman tells her own story. Her name is Vivian. She is an Irish immigrant, and she tells her own story of being an orphan during this time and the families that she met and the other orphans that she created relationships with. I loved this book. It sucked me in and kept hold of me throughout the entire thing. It's just wonderful. If you haven't read it yet, please do. It's great. Now, I also picked up 2 books in a trilogy. The first is called The Storms of War, and the second is The Edge of the Fall, both by Kate Williams. These books follow the Witt family. They are a very rich family, and then World War I comes sweeping in, and the family's idyllic lives are thrown into shambles, essentially. This just sounded so interesting. You don't read a lot about World War I, or at least I don't see a lot of books about World War I, much more about World War II, so I was very eager to get these. I also picked up Slammerkin by Emma Donoghue. This follows a woman named Mary in 1748. She is a lower class citizen in London, and she just falls in love with clothes and certain materials like velvet and lace, and that desire leads her into a life of prostitution and apparently her demise. Emma Donoghue wrote Room, which I really loved. This is very different. It sounds much more gritty. It gives me the vibes of The Crimson Petal and the White. Now, they might not be anything like at all, but it just reminded me of that, so I picked that one up. I also picked up The Other Typist by Suzanne Rindell. Now, this was suggested to me by someone when I did the What Should I Read Next tag. If it was you who suggested it to me, can you let me know in the comments below? Can't remember who it was, and as soon as they mentioned it and I looked it up on Goodreads, I was like, that is a book that I need to have on my shelf. So I finally found it and I picked it up. This follows a woman who's a typist for the New York City Police Department. And so she is dealing with criminals all the time. She's dealing with people who have murdered. She's dealing with people who are thieves, and she's just typing up their confessions. And one day a new typist comes on board the team, and her name is Odalie. And Odalie comes in and kind of changes everything. You know, our main character used to be able to just go home after work and just chill, and then Odalie comes in and introduces our main character to the underworld of speakeasies and jazz. It just sounded like a really fun, interesting book. So, eager to read that one. Finally, I picked up Afterlife by Rianne Ellis. This follows an area in New York State where people who do work as spiritualists and mediums seem to congregate and live. And here we follow Naomi Ash, who's a young girl living and growing up in this very odd little community. And Anne Patchett and Sarah Waters both have a little blurb on the back for how much they loved this book, and I really enjoy both of those authors, so I'm hoping that I'll like it too. So those are all of the historical books that I picked up. Let me know if there are any historical fiction books that you've been reading lately that you've been liking. I would love to know, and I'll see you next time. Bye!